Hello and welcome to Abhinav Goswami Law Classes. Today, our topic of discussion will be the President of India. So, I will try to cover articles from Article 52 to Article 62 of our Indian Constitution. Along with that, I will also deal with Article 71, 72, and 73. And at the same time, I will also discuss Article 361 of our Indian Constitution. So, all these articles deal with the powers privileges of the president and how the house how the this office of president works. So let's start with it. Okay, so as far as so this is the latest bear act, the provisions of latest bear acts. So I have taken downloaded a pdf of it, so that you can see that on a screen. So if you have a bear act with you, it will be more easier and better for you to understand from that, so that you can read at the same time while I am discussing with you the provisions. Okay, so let's start with today's discussion. It's going to be very interesting discussion today, though, and I will not take much of your time. So let's start with it. Article 52. So okay, so these articles relating to president and vice president fall under part 5 of our Indian Constitution. This thing that we need to remember, and the heading is the executive. Okay, so the first thing that we need to understand when we discuss president is that the post of president or the office of president is a part of executive wing of our structure of our constitution. Like there are three structures: judiciary, legislature, and executive. So president falls within the category of executive part of it. Okay, so the first article, article 52, provides for the post of the president of India. It simply says no if and but, no rules and regulation. It simply says that there shall be a president of India. There shall be. Okay, so what Article 52 simply does is it establishes a post or office known as an office of President of India, and it has been bound. It has been made mandatory by this Article 52 that in all cases it is necessary for the proper functioning that there has to be president, or there shall be a president of India at all times. Okay. Next article, Article 53, provides for executive power of the union. Okay, sub article 1. The executive power of the union shall be vested in the president and shall be exercised by him either directly or through officers subordinate to him in accordance with this constitution. Okay, so what this sub article 1 says is that the executive power of the union. Okay, so as far as the executive functions of the government are concerned, they shall be vested in the president of India. And how will they it exercise? That the president has a choice to exercise it either directly or through officers subordinate to him, because it is not possible for the president to go and reach every particular place and exercise each and every function. So this law of this thing is provided that even he can authorize his subordinates to perform those functions on his behalf. So it will be implied that these functions are being carried out on the authority of the president, so it is the president who is the source of these functions. Okay, so what we get from sub article 1 is that the executive power of the union, okay, the whole executive power of the union will be vested in the president, and he shall exercise that power through either himself or through subordinates to him. Okay, I will also I will keep explaining the provision. For now, just read and understand the provisions. Sub article 2. Without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing provision, the supreme command of the defense forces of the Union shall be vested in the President, and the exercise thereof shall be regulated by law. So, what subsection 2 says that the President will be the supreme commander of all the defense forces, whether it is Air Force, okay, Army, or naval forces. He will be the supreme commander. He or she, whoever is holding the post of president, will be the supreme commander of these armed forces. What we need to remember just is sub article 2 is about armed forces. Sub-article 1 is about executive power that is vested in the president. Sub-article 3. Nothing in this article A shall be deemed to transfer to the president any function conferred by any existing law on the government of any state or other authority. B. Prevent parliament from conferring by law functions on authority other than president. Okay, so sub-article 3 is very simple. It simply provides that uh, like by providing a sub-article 1 that we said that the executive power will be vested in the president, it doesn't mean that the A provides that if any existing law, when the constitution is coming into force, if an existing law provides for the vesting of any particular power into the state governments or on the government of any state or any other authority under the state government, so it will not be affected by this provision. Okay, and the second part is, and even in future also, if the parliament want to vest any particular power into any particular authority or any particular state government, it can freely do so. So article 51 53 sub article 1 though vests executive power in the president, but it will not come in way of now vesting of other powers into other authorities. It is simply a cautious matter. So three sub articles in article 53 that we read. Okay, Article 4, Article 54, election of president. The president shall be elected by the members of an electoral college. Okay, mind the words. Electoral college consisting of A. The elected members of both houses of parliament. B. The elected members of the legislative assemblies of the state. Explanation. In this article and in Article 55, the state includes National Capital Territory of Delhi and the Union Territory of Puducherry. Okay. So, as far as the election of the president is concerned, we need to remember that it though election president the election to the post of the president will be held by indirect means. They are not directed. They are not through direct adult suffrage. Okay, it is not as the same as we choose our representative in parliament or state legislative assembly. It is an indirect election, and what is the procedure of it? That an electoral college is constituted. What is meant by this term electoral college? Electoral college is like consists of people who are entitled to vote in the election of the president. So who constitute this electoral college? These are elected members of both the houses of parliament, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, as well as elected members of legislative assemblies of the state. Okay, so now you'll ask, no, okay, I understand about that it will consist of member of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, but oh, there are so many legislative assemblies. So all of the members of all legislative assemblies will vote in this. Okay, so what the process has been done, how it has been designed is there are two rules for constituting electoral college. First thing is that as far as members of the parliament are concerned, they have their voting power in the election of the president. But as far as the elected members of legislative assemblies are concerned, their voting, though they have the power to vote in presidential election, but their vote, the value of their vote vary depending on the population they represent. Okay, for example, like if a member of state legislative of assembly of Uttar Pradesh is representing for say 1 lakh people or 10 lakhs people, and there is this MLA of a particular other territory, just say Manipur, who is representing only 50,000 people, so the value of the vote will be according to the population that that particular member of legislative assembly is representing. And how that is done, that the total number of particular assembly in a state are divided by the total population. So what happens that the value of a single MLA, it comes to 4, that how many how much population is being represented by a single MLA. So it's the value of its vote is decided on this basis. Okay, so the people representing more population have more value to their votes. And the second rule of this is that there has to be parity between the value of the votes of the members of parliament and votes of these members of state legislative assembly. So they has to be equal. So they has to be 50-50. Okay, they can't be, no, there are so many state legislative members, so they should have the dominance in the election of president. No, parliament and all the state legislative assembly has to be on parity. Okay, so the value of votes of the state members of parliament and value of the votes of the state of assembly together should be equal. Okay, okay, 50% goes to this, 50% goes to say. So the second rule is the votes of members of parliament and the votes of all the state legislative assembly in total should be on parity with each other. Okay, so these are the two rules for election for constituting electoral college. So then the election happens and by secret ballot, and this is by proportional representation. These are not the majority rule is not followed. Okay, so it is not like a person as happens in the normal election that a person scoring more than 50% of the votes will be declared one. No, it is the person who gets the higher number of preferences. Okay, first the number of first preferences are counted. If there is no clear result by counting of first preferences, then the second preference of the voters is counted. So this is the way how it goes. And as far as the explanation of Article 54 is concerned, it provides that. So what happened was that as we read Article 54.b, it says the elected members of state legislative assemblies of the states only. So what about the union territories that are there? The Union Territory of Delhi, Union Territory of Puducherry, Union Territory of Chandigarh. So there are so many union territories. So by the way of this amendment, explanation 2 was brought into record, and as far as national capital of Delhi is concerned and Puducherry, these two were included with, though they are union territories, though but they were deemed to be included within the definition of state. So what is the result of it? That is members of state legislative assembly of Delhi and Puducherry also have the right to vote in the presidential elections. This is regarding election of president, Article 54. Okay, Article 55. Okay, now we understood that how the election is like what is the way. So in Article 55, we will discuss about manner of election of the president. Sub Article 1. As far as practicable, there shall be uniformity in the scale of representation of the different states at the election of the president. Okay, so it it should be the aim of the people who are organizing the presidential election that there is uniformity in the scale of representation of the different states at the election of the president. What it simply means is that what may happen is that a particular assembly may have many representatives, okay, many seats in his legislative assembly, though it has very less population. Or on the other side, it may happen that there may be states who having very less number of members in its legislative assembly, though the population is huge. So there is this veracity. So so in order to ensure that such thing doesn't happen, and there is no undue advantage to a particular state just because it has more seats in its legislative assembly, so in order to tackle with that situation, it has to be ensured that the value, again the rule that the value, even though they have more seats in a particular, but the value of these voters in the legislative assembly who has more seats, less population, will be accordingly change. Okay, so as to take into consideration the population factor. Okay, so effort must be based so as to ensure uniformity in the scale of representation. So all the states should be representing almost equal number of population of India. It is an though it is an indirect election, but still the president is a representative of Indian population only, though it is he or she is being appointed by way of indirect vote. Okay, but this does not mean that only these okay, by way of when these members of legislative assemblies are voting in the election of president, if they are representing the people who have appointed it. So these people who the population of India, though they are divided into different states, they should have the equal chance of appointing it. So there has to be uniformity of scale, that this much population, so this much vote. Okay, so according to the population, the value of the vote should be determined. Sub-Article 2. For the purpose of securing such uniformity among the state inter se, as well as parity between the state as a whole and the union, the number of votes which each elected member of the parliament and of the legislative assembly of each state is entitled to cast at such election shall be determined in the following manner. Okay, that's what I was talking about. Okay, two rules: uniformity within the state members of a state legislative assembly, and parity between the parliament and the state legislative assembly members. So how it will be done? A, every elected member of the legislative assembly of the state shall have as many votes as there are multiples of 1000 in the quotient obtained by dividing the population of the state by the total number of elected members of the assembly. So don't be confused about the whole thing. It simply says that the population of the whole state will be divided by the numbers of the elected members. Then will come the value of a vote of a particular person, and according to it, how many votes it can cast in the election will be determined by the election commission. Okay. So the formula is divide the number of members in assembly by the total population. B. Second rule is, if after taking the said multiples of 1000 the remainder is not less than 500, then the vote of each member referred to in such shall be further increased by one. So these are not details. These are like, this is the process. Though like these are not the things that you should provide in the constitution, but they have been provided. They are more of a rules of like conducting elections. So they could have been formed part of particular schedule or something, but as they have been provided, so we are reading them. So it simply says that like how the thing will be. It is not much important as far as writing exams in the uh, writing exams are concerned. The third rule is, each elected member of either house of parliament shall have such number of votes as may be obtained by dividing the total number of votes assigned to the members of legislative assembly of the state under subclause by the total number of elected members of both the house of parliament, fractions exceeding one half being counted as one, other fraction being disregarded. So as far as C is concerned, it is trying to reach the parity between the parliament and the members of state legislative assembly. Okay. Sub-article 3. The election of the president shall be held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, and the voting at such election shall be by secret ballot. So sub-article 3 is telling you about the what is the nature of the election that will be conducted to appoint the president. So it will be by proportional representation. So there will all the voters will be having a number of votes, and there will be preferences that I will first preference to this particular candidate, second preference to this particular candidate. So this is by way of proportional representation and by means of single transferable vote, and the voting at such elections shall be by secret ballot. Okay, you are not bound to disclose to whom you have voted. Okay. Explanation. In this article, the expression population means the population as ascertained at the last preceding census of which the relevant figures have been published. So we are again saying that we will consider that the members of assemblies are representing value will be decided according to the population that they are represented. But what population? How will you decide the population? So that the benchmark for deciding the population is the census that was conducted in 1971. Okay, so 1971 census report is the current benchmark for deciding population thing. The next census will be conducted as far as these professions are concerned in 2026. That after 2026, that census will be applicable. But until now, it is the census of 1971, provided that reference and explanation to the last preceding census of which the relevant figures have been published shall, until the relevant figures for the first census taken after the year 2026 have been published, be constituted as a reference to 1971 census. Okay. So what we need to remember is article 55 tells you about the manner of election of the president. So it provides you the way that how the what is the formula to decide the value of the votes of members of state legislative assembly, and how parity has to be reached between the votes of the parliament and votes of the state legislative assemblies. Okay, so this is what we get from article 50. Okay, as far as article 56 is concerned, it deals with a term of office of president. Okay, so a very simple article, nothing new. That president shall hold office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he enters upon office. So what is the term of the office of the president is 5 years, and when this counting will start when he enters upon his office for the first time, provided that A, the president may by writing under his hand address to the vice president resign from his office. So as far as objective type questions are concerned, you need to remember this, that the president always gives resignation to vice president. Okay. Okay. Subarticle clause B, the president may, for violation of the constitution, be removed from office by impeachment in the manner provided in article 61. Okay. So though president has a term of 5 years, but he can resign also by giving the resignation to vice president. And if he violates the provision of constitution or does something wrong, okay, commit some high crime, so in that cases he can also be impeached. And how, what is the process of impeachment will be discussed when we will reach article 61. Okay, subclause C. The president shall, notwithstanding the expiration of his term, continue to hold office until his successor enters upon his office. Very simple rule, that even though in a particular case that the term of 5 years of the president has expired, but no successor has been appointed till now. So in that case, he will continue in his office until the successor comes and takes over the office. Okay. Sub-Article 2. Any resignation addressed to the Vice President under Clause A of the proviso to Clause 1 shall forthwith be communicated by him to the Speaker of the House of the President. It simply says that when a resignation is given by the President to the Vice President, what the Vice President will be bound to do, that he will forward that resignation as soon as possible to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. And what is the reason for this? So that the representatives of the people, so that the Lok Sabha, where members of Parliament sit, they are aware of what is happening and that the president has resigned. So every passing of every bill, every statute requires assent of president. So if so, they should be the first one to know that that post is vacant, and we should move forward to appointing the next president as soon as possible. Okay, this was Article 56. It provides for term of office of the president. It simply says that term is 5 years. Article 57. Eligibility for re-election. Very simple. A person who holds or who has held office of president, subject to the other provision of this constitution, be eligible for re-election to that office. So what is that? There is no bar for re-electing a same person as the president again. This happened when Abdul Kalam was a president of India. So there is no bar for re-electing the same person as president for again a new term. What there is no uh, actual bar, but a convention has come into being by long exercise, that no person should be appointed more than 2 times. Okay, this is a convention. There is no explicit bar in the constitution, but this is a convention which has arisen by the exercise of the powers. Okay. Article 58, qualification for election as president. Okay, what are the qualifications that a particular person need to satisfy before he can be elected as a president? Sub Article 1. No person shall be eligible for election as president unless he is, first requirement, he is a citizen of India, very important. Second, has completed age of 35 years. Okay, 35 years. C, is qualified for election as a member of the House of People. Very important to remember. Okay, so the qualification for becoming a president, there are three prerequisites. Only if he said, if a particular person satisfies these three requirements, only then he can be considered for the post of president. The first requirement is he should be a citizen of India. Second requirement, he must have completed 35 years of age, and he must be eligible for election to House of People, not Rajya Sabha. Okay, House of People matlab Lok Sabha. Okay, so qualification is citizen of India, 35 years, and election to House of People, eligible for election to House of People. Okay. Sub-article 2, a person shall not be eligible for the election as president if he holds any office of profit under the government of India, or under the government of any state, or under any local or other authority subject to the control of the said government. Okay, so sub-article 2 says that no person, okay, so if a particular person is holding any office of profit, whether in the state government or in the central government or in any particular authority which is under the control of the state government or central government, he is not eligible for election as for the post of president until and unless he resigns from his office of profit. And what is meant by this office of profit? Office of profit is a very broad term. It is not necessarily a 9 to 5 job. Okay, it 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 may include many things. So there are few cases. For example, there was this one Jaya Bachchan case in which she was not getting any particular salary from a film board. Okay, but she was getting some benefits like free petrol, free vehicle, or a place to reside and all. So these benefits were considered as parts of her emoluments as towards for holding that particular post that he was holding was falling within the category of office of profit. So this office of, there are many cases, many interpretation of this office of term. But so as far as our present thing is concerned, we need to remember that any person holding an office of profit should not be cannot contest the election of president. And but that office, but the requirement is that office of profit has to be either under the central or the state government, or any local or other authority which is under the control of central or state government. So if he's doing his private business which has no concern with the government, then there is no problem. It is only office of profit under the government. Explanation. For the purposes of this article, a person shall not be deemed to hold on any office of profit by reason only that he is the president or vice president of the union, or the governor of any state, or is a minister either for the union or for any state. See, by sub-article 2 is simply that any office of profit under the government is will debar you. But explanation provided a proviso, created a proviso. It said that it explicitly excluded four posts from the purview of this bar of office of profit. What are these four posts? If a particular person is holding the post of president, he will not be debarred for contesting as a president. If a particular person is holding the post of vice president, he will not be debarred for contesting the election of president. If a particular person is holding the post of governor, he will not be debarred from contesting the election of president. And finally, if he is a minister, either in the union government or in the state government, he will not be debarred. So four posts: president, vice president, governor, and minister, either in the union or the state. So exemption have been provided for these posts. People holding any of these posts can go and contest the election of president, even though they are holding the office of profit under the government. These are qualifications. Article 15. So what I am going to do now, I am going to stop this video here, and I will continue with make a new video and make a second part, so that the video remains it does not extend to very big. Okay, see you in the next video.